Shah. We are the Battle Axes with the Most High, just coming at you with another class. Originally, I was gonna do a Thursday late night snack, but look like it's gonna be just a Friday morning breakfast. Kind of get you started with your day, but nevertheless, the world won't go out void. Just getting back home from the plantation. Should we be tired from this world, but we got to continue to keep this faith and keep this walk. Regardless, hey, we got to put in overtime for the Most High sometimes. But with that being said, just giving Him honor and glory for allowing us to even be here another day. Continue to try to push towards the mark each and every day. Shalom, sister, shalom. The title of the class is Ready for War. Ready for War. Because when we come into this truth, we got to understand that we're going to be at war. We're going to be at war with the other nations, not physically. And we're going to be at war with ourselves, fighting that flesh over the spirit, right? I didn't even get that precept, but I want to start with that first because my whole class was going to go into just what you need to be able to be prepared for that war. But the first thing I want to get is that flesh versus that spirit, because that's a constant battle that we go through daily. That's something that we kind of fight every which way that we go about it as soon as we get in this walk, because we know Satan, boy, he's a cunning and crafty man. And we know ultimately, hey, we can get drawn away with our own lust, right? So let me get this precept real quick. It wasn't on my class, but just hit the spirit. First precept we're going to go to is Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. The book of Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. So we already know once we come into this truth, we know once we start going hard, either we're going hard or hey, whatever the case may be, we know we're going to instantly go to war, fighting, trying to overcome that wicked spirit that's within us, trying to put off that old man, put on the new man, right? It said, for the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. So this is a war right here. This is something that we literally go through. As soon as we get into this truth, until as soon as we out of this truth, until Mashiach makes his return, right? And even in the wilderness, it said, and these are contrary, the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Because hey, if you think about it, if you led by the Spirit, you walking by the Most High God words, right? That's why he said not under the law, but the precept for that is 1 Timothy 1 and 9. Because the law wasn't created for the righteous. If you walking righteously, hey, guess what? You keeping the laws, right? But hey, this thing was kept for people who can't beat that spirit that's falling back into lustful ways, right? But the first precept we're gonna go to, well, second precept, so the next precept we're gonna go to is 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. Because when I say the title for class, we're not literally going to war with Esau, with Elon, or none of these people just yet. When the Mashiach make his return, guess what? That's what's going to be that real war. It really ain't going to be a war because it's going to be one winning and one losing. We already know who's going to win that fight, right? But the book of 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4. Verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh, right? Because we may be walking in our fleshly bodies, but we do not fight fleshly battles, right? Like I just pulled in Galatians. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, to the pulling down of strongholds. Like a lot of us came into Christianity, came into Buddhism, Muslim, Hinduism, Egyptology, a lot of things that we came into this truth with. And we got to put those things away, tear down them strongholds, because that's not our, it's not our religion, that's not our heritage. We have to come back to see who we were as people, right? That's some strongholds we got to pull down. It says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God. That's where we're going into. And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Because think about it, all those wicked things, we got to bring it into obedience and subjection. We can't let our flesh overrule our spirit, right? This is how we start to prepare ourselves to get ready for this war. First, we got to understand that, hey, our weapons are not carnal. We got to understand our weapons are spiritual. Like, hey, you can fight a demon, you can fight anything with your spirit by the power of Yahweh, right? And it said, next precept, because it's just the precept to kind of go with that is Hebrews 4 and 12. Because once we get into this walking, now we know weapons not carnal. Well, then a lot of people understand that the word of the Most High God is so strong and so powerful that hey, Sometimes we tend to forget those things and we lean to our own understanding, and that's where we fall into a lot of trouble, right? But this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 12. No, verse 11. I got to keep reading up every time. It says, let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest. Because we know this wicked kingdom, Esau kingdom, is not our resting place. We may go to sleep here. We may have a couple nice things here, but this is not our final rest. We know that we promised a kingdom. This is not our kingdom. We can tell because of how we live in the slums and the ghettos, and some people do live in nice estates. Guess what? It's not nicer than the white man's, or not nicer than the Africans, not nicer than the East Indians. We don't have that type of wealth, and we don't need that type of wealth. It's good that brothers and sisters have it, but guess what? We searching for that wealth that's to come, right? It said, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief, right? For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart. Man, I had to read that thing all the way through because this is how deep it gets. First, it goes through your flesh. Then your spirit, right? Your soul, then your spirit. And they said, if that's not deep enough, I'm going to go through your joints, right? Then I'm going to go through the marrow, the hollow part of your bone, right? And it said it's a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart, because we know the heart is desperately wicked, right? We know that these things can keep us in war with each other, right? Guess what? You want to do something. Your flesh telling you, let's go do it. Let's go fall into sin. Your spirit saying, nah, let's not go do it. But guess what? The Most High God's word, guess what? That's going to be the thing to uplift you and pick you up in these times, right? That's the thing that's going to pierce your soul and your spirit to say, like, hey, this flesh getting out of line. Hey, let's get to it, right? Because sometimes we let our flesh win, and we got to strengthen our spirit by these things, right? Next precept we're going to go to is 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. So that now that we know that, hey, our weapon's not carnal, right? We know that we not literally finna go fight Esau, right? Now, if they come touch us first, that's a different story. You know, we got to live peaceably among all men, right? But knowing that the word, Most High God, is the thing that's going to be doing the fighting for us, that's going to be doing the cutting, the slicing, and dicing until Hamashiach actually come back and he actually do it for real, in a fleshly sense, right? We know we got to keep this thing spiritual. We got to keep it peaceable, right? But now we got to get into like the things to kind of get our stuff prepared, right? So now that we know this is the background knowledge. Now we're going to kind of go into it. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 10. It said, now beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord, Yahushua, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you. So I pulled this precept because think about it. When you're going into war, you can't have no disarray in your platoon. You can't have no disarray in your battalion, or not even in the whole company that you're fighting with. Think about it. If you're in the U.S. Army, guess what? You're fighting for the U.S. Army, right? If you're in the Navy, you're fighting for the Navy. Think about it. If you're fighting for the Israelites, you are for the Israelites, right? Regardless of anything, think about it. We all got to have one mind and one faith, and that's to keep the commandments, right, and live. We know these things. We know our weapons not carnal. We know that, hey, we got to keep these commandments. The Most High God going to fight for us. We know this word going to be the thing, right? But we got to all speak that same thing, because we can't have no divisions among us. Because if it is, we're going to sow discourse. And then guess what? We're going to continue to be separated as people, right? It said, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Because this is how wars is won. This is how championships is won. This is how kingdoms are won. Because you all got one mind to rule, to take over, to do what it takes in order to get that promise, right? So this is what we have to do as the children of Israel. We got to come together as a people. Figure out, okay, we all in this war together. Dang, Gad, you in it with Issachar, right? Dang, well, Zebulun, you in it with Benjamin. We all in this thing together. We all got to come together and realize these things, man. And we got to take heed of these things. We got to keep fighting, right? And continue to join together, right? Be in the same judgment. Know what is going to happen to the heathen. Accept those things. Know that what we going to have to do and what's not going to, hey, 2/3 of our people not going to make it. So, hey, we got to understand that. We got to accept those things, right? But that's just, hey, that's kind of one of the opening I want to start off with. So once we know we can't have no divisions among us, now we go to what you put on. Now that you all together, we're going to go to Ephesians 5 and 11. Now that we know what's required, now we got to see. Now we got to get ready for war, right? Now we got to put on. Now we got to gird up our loins, right? Now we got to do these things, right? So this is the book of Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11. It said, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So this is our armor. This is what we use to fight, right? This is what we use to fight the wiles. This is what we use to fight that fleshly. This is what we use to fight Esau. This is how we used to fight our enemies of this world, or even of our nation. We got to put on the whole armor of God. Guess what? That's a lot. I ain't even going to butcher. I'm going to go down. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principality, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Let's think about it. We fighting against spirits. We fighting against demons. We fighting against people who want to put spirits on you. Literally, they'll think of some voodoo. They'll conjure it up because they want you. Or you got Esau, want your blood, or want your eggs, women or men. You already know. They want all these things for you so they can mix up these things and make these things. They wicked. But think about it. This is what we all fighting against. This is why we got to put the whole armor of God. We can't put on the armor of man. A gun ain't going to stop all of this. Think about it. A bomb not going to stop it. Hey, ultimately, hey, there's going to be one bomb that stop all of this. But think about it. We don't have that type of thing. So guess what? We got to put on that armor of God and let him fight our battles, right? And said, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on breastplates of righteousness. That's what we're supposed to have on. That's what's supposed to be our chest plate, because that's how we don't get hurt, right? You know, our brothers, hey, not even us Battle Axes, but all brothers across the four corners of the earth, right? We go out there day in and day out. Hey, no bulletproof vest, no nothing. This is Bible, couple brews, and we out there rocking and rolling, right? That's who's gonna be out there to protect us, right? You know, I mean, most of God with us everywhere that we go. And they said this is what we should do. Like, we put on that breastplate of righteousness, right? Because nothing's gonna pierce us, right? And even if they do, it touch our fleshly sense. We know our spirit will never be affected by that, right? Verse 14, it said, stand there, no, Salaki, verse 15, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. So that's what your shoes, that's going on what you put on your feet, right? The gospel of peace. We preach the gospel. That's what we stand on. That's what we're walking towards, to reach that gospel. And guess what? That's, you know, Isaiah 61:1, Luke 4:18. Think about the gospel, the good tidings, to preach to the meek, to the lonely, to the ones that are carried captives, right? This is what we do, right? That's what we have to do, is spread this gospel, because that's what we're walking to, aspire to tell our people, guess what? A Mashiach gonna make a return. You the chosen people. Let's keep these commandments. Let's keep this walking. Let's keep fighting this war. Let's keep getting our people together. Let's keep doing it, right? Verse 16, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And it's self-explanatory, because guess what? It's gonna be coming to them days like, hey, where this stuff is ramping up more and more. I mean, it already is. Well, you know, homosexuality, with people wanting to be anything that they want to be, how, you know, how sodomy done took over this whole earth, especially the U.S., and how a lot of things is just so perverted nowadays. You know, hey, these are darts that's hitting us, because it's not probably hitting us. It's hitting your kids. Like, it's hitting your grandchildren. I mean, shoot, like, these things are hitting somewhere, because guess what? It always hit home somewhere. Regardless if it's not you, it's somebody else. But verse 17, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Because that's the sword. That's what we use. That's the spirit. That's the spirit that we need to put on. That's what is going to get us ready for war. Let's think about it. We got the chest plate. We got the helmet. We got the feet. We got everything good. But what's the sword? What do we use to fight with if we're in this war, right? He said, which is the word of God. That's what we use. That's what we use. Like we read in Hebrews 4:12. Because guess what? That's sharper than any two-edged sword. That's sharp. Hey, that's going to bust harder than any AK. That's going to blow up harder than any bazooka, any bomb, any nothing. Can't nothing stop that word, because guess what? It's always going to keep cutting and cutting. You can die once, but that soul, that spirit can keep on. You can keep being hurt for a while, man. But, hey, next precept we're going to go to is 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, verse 56. Hey, we just got to keep this thing going. We got to keep rolling. We know that we got our equipment for war. We know that what war we're going into. We know it's not physical. We know it's spiritual. We know all these things, right? But this is when we kind of going through this war, right? You know, you kind of got to, you know, it's going to get hard, and we understand that. But, you know, Sirach 2:1, like even Akpur, hey, when you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation, right? Because guess what? We ain't never seen the righteous forsaken. Think about it. If he sent you to go to war, you're going to win that war. But you got to trust in the Lord. When we lean on our own understanding, that's when we fall. And that's when we lose our wars. Because we try to take it in our own hands. And guess what? The Most High God will let you do that so that he can see your demise, right? But this is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, verse 56. It said, for while we lived and commit iniquity, we consider that not that we shall begin to suffer for it after death. Salaki. Because a lot of people like going into sin, falling into wickedness, falling into folly. And they think you ain't going to pay for that, right? You think like, oh, you can do whatever. You ain't got to keep no commandments. You good. You ain't got to do nothing. It's all hunky-dory, right? But guess what? You think you're not going to suffer for that when you die? You think when the Mashiach make his return, you ain't going to feel no type of way? You sadly mistaken, man, because guess what? He going to make a lot of people feel his pain. That's when that real war going to happen, when he really killing your spirit in your soul, right? Or in your flesh. It said, then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle. Because this is the condition of the war. We know that we in a war. We know what we got going on. This is the condition of the war, right? Which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. So guess what? Man and woman, you know this is just spoken in more masculine sense. But guess what? Women, y'all going to get tried in this fire too, just as much as men, right? So guess what? Hey, it's going to come for us. It's going to come for y'all too. It said that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the things that I say. Because think about it. If you get overcome, you let this world overtake you. You let this world just, oh, I can't do it. Oh, woe is me. Guess what? Well, destruction to you. Maybe it is destruction for you, right? But it said if you got to, guess what? But if he get the victory, because we know that in a battle, guess what? You might have won right here. You might have won this battle. But guess what? You didn't get the victory because you didn't win the full war. You just won right here. So guess what? We might have just won on the last Sabbath. That's not the full war. Because guess what? We know that we got to keep coming in day in and day out. Because guess what? You know how we get the victory? When the Mashiach makes his way return, that's when we're going to get that true victory, right? Guess what? It said, but if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. Guess what? That's eternal glory, eternal life, right? For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people who he lived, while he lived, saying, choose thee life that thou mayest live. Because guess what? That's a precept for Deuteronomy 30 and 19. Guess what? He don't want you to die in your iniquity. He don't want you to fall no type of way. He don't want you falling in any wickedness, any folly. He just wants you to live, keep these commandments, and keep fighting this war. Keep putting on that spirit. Keep on doing what you got to do. Keep striving towards the mark, right? That's all he wanted us to do, right? But verse 60, nevertheless, it's always a nevertheless with the children of Israel. Because like, hey, real hard-headed, stiff-necked, rebellious people like Yaakov brought out the other week. They believe not him, nor yet the prophets after him. No, nor me, which has spoken unto them. Because guess what? Hey, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, and shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. Because guess what? It's going to be... This is a part of that 2/3, man. Shalom, shalom. And that's a part of our 2/3 because a lot of us don't believe, they don't hearken. Even brothers and sisters in this truth, they just really don't think fat mean greasy. But guess what? This war right now, we might be winning a couple battles. You might have won that battle coming into this truth. But guess what? You got a lot more battles. You got Jacob's trouble. And that's when the real fight going to start. To get your flesh and your spirit, and it's going to be said. It's going to really tempt you to see what you're really about, right? But if you overcome that war, guess what? You overcome, you get that true victory. Guess what? You're receiving that crown of life like he spoke about, right? But knowing that Hamashiach gonna get gonna win this war, right? Because he the head honcho, right? He the general. We gotta understand what we gotta do and play our part, right? Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. Shalom, shalom. I know some of y'all getting ready to go to work, or just not getting off like me. But guess what? This word will never go out void, and guess what? War don't never stop. That's a 25-8 thing. So, hey, as long as we keep on, we have this platform, we're going to be brothers like myself, continue to spread this word, right, in this gospel, right? Continue to try to push so that we can win this war ultimately. Shalom, 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 brother. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of a Mashiach Yahushua. This is what we got to do. We got to endure hardness. Like, hey, guess what? Sister might be going through a hard time, and she really might do. Guess what? Bills might be getting hard. Family situation. Something might just be going wrong. Or maybe her and her spirit. But guess what? Sister, you're going to be okay. Because guess what? If you got that faith, and you know that the Most High gonna lead you out of that way, guess what? You got it. Guess what, brother? You might be going through something. You might have fell off. You might have fell into some sin, but guess what? Get back up, right? Proverbs 24:16, right? Just man falls 7 times, but rise up again. Guess what? Get back up. You got it. This is what the war is. Guess what? You're going to fall. You're going to lose some. Because in the war, it's not all wins. Guess what? You're going to lose. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some, right? What is it? If you win, if you lose, hey, live to fight another day, right? I butchered that thing off Friday, but guess what? That's true, though. Because guess what? You're going to lose and you're going to win, but guess what? You got to keep fighting until it's over. Because, hey, it's just like a fight, man. Guess what? It ain't over until the fat lady saying, right? It said, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. Like they put there, he said this life, because think about it. This life right here, we're not worried about this. This is not, we fighting over this, but we're not entangling ourselves with this. We know that, hey, in order for me to get to the kingdom, I got to beat this spirit. I got to beat this flesh, Salaki. And I got to overcome these things. I got to keep these commandments. I got to live, because guess what? The victory I want is not to see the white man fall in his own kingdom. I want to see him fall to Hamashiach Yahushua, and then we get to, hey, the people who led us to captivity shall be in captivity, right? That's the victory that I want to see, right? When my people happy, when my people not oppressed no more, when my people don't want that war, right? Guess what? We don't have to ration for stuff no more. No more Section 8, no more food stamps. That's the real war we trying to win, right? We want to get our people out of these situations, right? That's the real war we got to win. We got to remember that, too. We can never forget hey, we might have won this battle, but we can't forget the war, right? We can never do that. It says, no man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who had chosen him to be a soldier. Because guess what? We got to please the person who chose us to be a soldier. Because a lot of us think we came into this truth with free will. Guess what? How you get drafted in Esau kingdom, you got drafted to be in this war. Now, whether you fit for that or not, that's on you. Guess what? He going to put you through that course. He going to put you through the crash course. He going to train you. He going to push you till you feel like you can't be pushed no more. But guess what? You make it. You win that victory. Guess what? You're going to be a part of his army. And guess what? You got to keep that fight. You can't give up. Because guess what? He didn't give up on us, right? No matter how much persecution he went through, right? Guess what? He never fell short. He always kept going. He always made sure he had to do for the children of Israel. We got to make sure we keep that same thing going, right? But the next precept we're going to go to is 2 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 9. And we'll kind of, I know captains, we just got through with it. Salaki. We just got through with this high holy day. But I kind of wanted to touch what Judas Maccabees did, man, because he was a mighty man, man. He went off. Like, hey, he was a mighty brother for this truth and for the children of Israel, right? We're going to destruction of Nicanor. This was one of the small battles that he had in that war, right? The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 13, and I start at verse 9. The book of I'm at 1 Maccabees. Salaki, y'all. Salaki. I ain't gonna let my flesh beat me, man. Okay, that's what we're gonna push through this class. And guess what? We're gonna make a rocket and make it rock, man. The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 13, verse 9. Now the king came with the barbarous and haughty mind, to do far worse to the Jews than had been done in his father's time. So this is wicked, man. He wanted to do worse to us. Like, he just wanted to do us bad, right? When Judas perceived, he commanded the multitude to call upon the Lord night and day. Because that's the first thing we do. When we go into our war and we see something that seems a little crazy, this is the first thing we do. We call unto the Lord, right? That's the first thing we got to do, brothers and sisters. When we come into the truth, we got to let the Lord fight our battles, right? We all know that. Guess what? We all know that, but do we do that? Like, hey, we got to let the Lord, we got to call on him first, night and day, all day. Hey, Lord, hey, you heard me, right? All praises to the Most High. Let's keep working there. Guess what? He heard you, but don't fall into sin for that, because guess what? He won't hear you, right? It said, he commanded the multitude to call upon the Lord night and day, that if ever at any other time, he would now also help them. Hey, guess what? He gonna help you at any time. Guess what? That's what he always do, right? Being at the point to be put from their law. Because that's the thing. These brothers were fighting to keep the laws. Guess what? They were finna get put from their laws. It says from their country and from the holy temple. And this is what we got to get back to. We got to fight for our holy temple, right? We know that our temple is us. We got to fight for us. We got to fight to keep our flesh in check. We got to fight to keep our spirit going. We got to keep these things going. This is what we got to fight for. We got to fight against this wicked world that wants your son to be a girl, or want your girl to be a boy, or want you to be the man of the house when you a woman, or want the man to be the woman of the house because the woman make more money. We got to fight these things, right? We got to fight for our holy temple. We got to fight for our country, because guess what? We might not be in our country, but we fighting to get there, right? And we got to fight for our law, man, each and every day, right? Because we know that the laws of this kingdom is wicked, man. Verse 11, and that he would not suffer the people that had even now been but a little refreshed to be in subjection to the blasphemous nations. Guess what? He ain't gonna let us fall to these nations, right? Because he always gonna leave a remnant, even like of now. And guess what? We a part of that remnant. We got to keep this thing going and show them like, hey, they want to call us rebellious people because we not following their laws. But guess what? We're gonna follow most of God's laws, right? And let God be true and every man be a liar, right? Verse 12. So when they had all done this together, to think they did it together, that's that part of being on one mind, one accord, right? That we read in 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, right? And besought the merciful Lord with weeping and fasting. This is another thing, praying. They prayed first and fasting, right? We know praying and fasting go one and the same, and they always do it. And lying flat upon the ground 3 days long, Judas, having exhorted them, commanded they should be in readiness. Think, well, he said, hey, guess what? You ready? Let's get ready. And Judas, being apart with the elders, determined before the king's host should enter into Judea and get the city to go forth and try the matter and fight by the help of the Lord. Because guess what? Most High God, hey, you like, okay, it's time to go to war. Well, guess what? Judas made them ready, right? Okay, well, let's go. Because they know they had the help of the Lord, right? They knew that they weren't doing this on their own, right? So when he had committed all to the creator of the world and exhorted his soldiers to fight manfully. This is the thing, we got to stand up manfully this thing. Women, you got to stand up womanly for this thing, right? It said, even unto death. Think about it. Some people going to die in this truth. Some people going to suffer in this truth. That where you feel like, damn, am I dead? Think about it. You got to stand up manfully, womanfully. And you got to do this until you die. Because that's how you win that war, right? Think about it. The war don't stop just because you wounded or you bleeding out or you hurt. Guess what? It don't stop, right? Because somebody will come over and easily get you off, right? Guess what? You got to keep fighting that fight, because guess what? You dying for your country, you dying for your laws. And we know we're not down for America. We're down for for Israel, right? We know who we're doing it for, right? Salaki. And it said, exhorted his soldiers to stand and fight, to fight manfully, even unto death, for the laws, the temple, the city, the country, and the commonwealth. This is all we fighting for. All these things that we fighting for, man. He camped by Modim and had given the watchword to them that were about him. Victory is of God. Because that's who gonna get the true victory. Like even how we said, guess what? Mashak Yahushua, that's who gonna get that real victory, right? The Most High God, that's who gets that victory, right? Think about it. We don't win nothing by ourselves. With the most valiant and choice young men, he went into the king's tent by night and slew in the camp about 4,000 men, and the chiefest of the elephants, with all that were upon him. Guess what? The Most High God went there and went through them, man. Like in 300, if any of y'all seen that movie, right? And at last they filled the camp with fear and tumult and departed with good success. Guess what? They struck fear in everybody over there. Because guess what? We got the Most High God with you. Guess who gonna stop you? Nobody. And it said with good success, because guess what? You dwell in these commandments, you meditate in it. Anything that you do, you're going to prosper in, right? That's Joshua 1 and 8, right? It said, verse 17, this was done in the break of day, because of the protection of the Lord did help him. Hey, man. Verse 18, now when the king had taken a taste of the manliness, guess what? The king done took a little taste of the manliness, right, of the Jews. He's like, oh, man, hold on. These niggas here. They're a little too much for me. I ain't got no God. I only had these 4,000 men, and they done went through them. They had them big elephants. They done chopped them down. Hey, they got a taste of it. Think they only got a taste of it. That's what Judas did. Think about when Mashiach come back. That's just a taste, right? He went about to take the holds by policy, Salaki, and marched towards Besura, which was a stronghold of the Jews. But he was put to flight. Guess what? They sent him running. and put him to flight, failed and lost of his men. Guess what? He thought he was going to try to do something. He thought he was going to go to his policy. Guess what? Didn't work. You know why? Because we had the Most High God with us, right? But that's just a little count of Judas, man. Hey, you can read down on that, man. I encourage y'all to read. Read about your forefathers, man. Because guess what? That's how we got to do. Remember the days of old, right? Because our brothers, hey, they stood up manfully. They kept these laws and they was ready to go to war for the Most High God, for their laws, for their country, for the commonwealth, and for Israel, man. Guess what? That's what we always had to do, right? The next precept we're going to go to is the book of Psalms, chapter 33, verse 16. I ain't going to keep the class too long, but, you know, got to make sure, hey, show y'all really why we at war, right? Show you what we at war and show how our brothers and sisters handled it, being in a physical war, what they still did, because they still kept it spiritual, right? They still prayed, they still fasted, they still lamented unto the Lord, right? And guess what? The Lord heard their prayers, and he the one that did the dirty work, right? Guess what? You in trouble, you find somebody at school, guess what? You go to your daddy, right? Guess what? Your daddy gonna go handle that business, right? That's what we got to do. We got to call on our Father, man. He going to save us out of our trouble. We just got to trust in him, right? That's what we fall off. But this is the book of Psalms, chapter 33, verse 16. There is no king saved by the multitude of an host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. Because guess what? A king, guess what? He can have 600,000 men. If the Lord don't want him to live, he's not going to live, right? And he said a mighty man is not delivered by much strength. Because guess what? Hey, if he not meant to get caught, he not meant to get caught. This verse 17. An horse is a vain thing for safety. Neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Guess what? A horse? Because think about it, that's what it was used to go into war these days. So you can think about it nowadays like, hey, a jet, a tank, a bomb, a gun, right? Any of these things that's fleshly, right? You know, anything. He said it's vain for safety. I mean, yeah, it's cool, but is it really going to save you, right? Because who's going to pull that trigger? Who's going to make the bullet hit you? Who's going to make this thing actually protect you? A bulletproof vest. Who's going to actually make it be a bulletproof vest, right? Verse 18. Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope is in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Because that's who's going to protect you, right? This is the eye of the Lord. It's only upon them that fear him, that's keeping his commandments, right? That's what's going to keep us going and keep us prospering, right? That's the thing that's going to deliver their soul from death. Fighting over that spirit, not going into that second death, right? The lake of fire. And it said to keep them alive in the famine. Guess what? We going through a famine right now. A famine, going into the famine of the word, going into actual famine. And guess what? The Israelites eating good. Because I know when the Passover come, hey, in a couple weeks, we're going to be big eating, big lamb eating, big cornbread, big, hey, everything. Guess what? We're going to be eating good because Most High God going to make sure that we do everything with joyfulness and gladness, right? He going to make sure we good, man. Verse 20, it says, our soul waiteth for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. Because that's who's going to protect you, right? That's who's going to keep you going. That's who's going to keep you striving to keep these commandments. And that's what you're going to always want to do because, hey, we know that this battle, if we keep on, guess what? Our general going to lead us. And as long as we follow with his word, keep that one accord, guess what? We're going to be good, right? Verse 21, for our heart shall rejoice in him because we have trusted in his holy name. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according as we hope in thee. Hey, amen, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 20, and we're going to start at 1. You know, this is to get an account of a little bit more of our forefathers. People who did listen when the Lord told them, hey, go fight. And the people who didn't listen when the Lord said, hey, I'm not with you. Go fight on your own. Hey, go see what happened, right? But we're going to start at Deuteronomy. Chapter 20, verse 1. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots, and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Because guess what? We go on our everyday life. We see Esau. We see the police. Guess what? They way more than us. They outgun us. Guess what? They do that. That's cool. But guess what? He said, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of none of that. Because guess what? The Lord thy God is with you. And he's been with us ever since the beginning. Even since our first captivity, right? And it shall be when you are come nigh unto the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, right? And guess what? We know that we are part of that royal priesthood, right? Because we know, hey, we getting out of battle. So guess what? That's why you got the priests and you got the prophets coming out, preaching that this war is going to come. Preaching that, hey, guess what? This is a spiritual war, y'all. It's not carnal. Guess what? Y'all want reparations? Guess what? The Most High God going to get our reparations for us, right? He going to get it back in blood, right? But guess what? We got to keep the commandments and live. Or guess what? He'll get us too, right? Whatever with him, right? In verse 3. And it says, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel. It's always been about Israel. We got to remember that. Guess what? The war that we in, we not in the U.S. Army. We in the Most High Israel. Hey, the MHI. Hey, for real, that's what we're a part of. I'm a part of the MHI, the Most High Israel, right? Whatever. And it shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, you approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint, fear not, and do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. Don't fear them, don't be weary over them, nothing, right? For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. That's who gonna go out to fight for you. He gonna save you. He gonna deliver you every time. You just gotta trust him. When you lose your trust, that's when you lose that battle, right? I'm gonna drop down to verse 8. And the officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? So this is going, guess what? If you in this war and you supposed to go fight for the Most High God, you can't be fear-hearted, right? Because we know the Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear, right? We can't be fearing the things that can just kill our flesh. We got to fear the man that can kill the flesh and the spirit, right? We got to fear both of these things, right? It said, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return unto his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. Guess what? If you faint-hearted, this might not be for you. Because guess what? You got to stand up manfully, like how they said. Guess what? Stand up manfully. Stand for your laws. Stand for your country. Stand for your commonwealth. Stand for the Most High God in his name, right? So guess what? And if you feel like you can't do that and you're too weak and faint, you might not be a part of his platoon. You just might have been one of the scrubs they just pulled up, right? But that don't mean you don't try to gird up your loins and try to keep on. It's because you was faint at first. That don't mean you got to be faint forever, right? There's nothing to discourage brothers when you got in this truth, right? But you know you got to keep going. Hey, but guess what? If you keep on staying at home, guess what? When this war starts, that's exactly where you're going to be at. Because guess what? If you do that, you might put that on another brother. Or you might put it on another sister. Well, I'm scared. Well, I'm scared too. She probably wouldn't. But guess what? She hear that. And guess what? She probably scared too now, right? But you can't do that. You got to stand up manfully. You got to, hey, like how Judas, he gathered his brothers together and they all had one accord, one mind. We're going to keep these laws and we're going to take over, right? Thus said the Lord, right? This is what the Most High God, this is what he do if you doing what he's saying, right? But this is an account with people who didn't listen to the Most High God, right? Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 14. We're going to start at verse number 40. Now, this was going into when we were going over the lands, Caleb, Joshua, they were searching the land and everything, right? Just to give you a little background, Hey, it's good to read Numbers, good to read all the books of the Bible, get a lot of history, get to learn a lot of stuff, right? It's the book of Numbers, chapter 14, verse 40. And they rose up early in the morning and gave them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and will go up unto the place which the Lord had promised, for we have sinned. Because guess what? They fell into wickedness because, think about it, all the people that was 40 years, guess what? We know for every day it was 40 years, right? So all those older people didn't make it, right? Everybody that was at a certain age and up, you weren't going to make it. You weren't going to make it. Because we was wicked. We wanted to be back in Egypt. We wanted to keep idol gods. We wanted to keep the golden calf. We wanted to do all these things contrary to the Lord, right? He was like, man, don't go up, right? Verse 42, it said, go. Verse 41, Salaki, and Moses said, Wherefore now do you transgress the commandment of the Lord? So guess what? Are you going to transgress? Are you going to go against what God told you not to do? It said, but it shall not prosper. Guess what? Anything you do that's contrary to the Lord, it's not going to go. Point blank, period. Like brothers and sisters might think you got a secret agenda up your hand, but guess what? If it ain't going with the Most High God, it's never going to work, right? It might seem like it is, but guess what? It's not. He'll give you that. He'll choose your delusions, make you think just to destroy you in the end. Verse 42, it said, Go not up. Shalom, shalom, Brother Yaakov. I know you probably getting up to go to work. I already know it. It's go not up, for the Lord is not among you, that ye be not smitten before your enemies. Guess what? Moses even gave them warning. He said, hey, guess what? Hey, Lord, he ain't rocking with y'all. Y'all in sin. Why would y'all go do that? Don't transgress the Lord. He ain't rocking with y'all, man. But guess what? Us, what are we? Like Yaakov. We some hard-headed, stiff-necked people, right? We don't listen. It said, for the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and ye shall fall by the sword, because ye are turned away from the Lord. Therefore the Lord will not be with you. Guess what? We know the Lord is our strength and our salvation and our sword, right? We know that everything that we do, as long as we keep the commandments, the Lord going to do everything for us. He's going to put it on our hand. We just got to eat it. But guess what? If you're not, guess what? He's not with you at all. And you're going to take whatever come with it, right? But this is Israel. We got to think about it. Verse 44. But they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and Moses departed not out of the camp. Guess what? Moses ain't leave. The priests ain't leave. Ain't nobody go. Be like, hey, you niggas can go on. Watch what happens. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites, which dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and discomfited them, even until Hormah. Guess what? They got it. They got deal. They got discomfited. I mean, hey, you ain't just lose, you got discomfited. I mean, hey, that's a pretty big word, but guess what? A L is a L, right? Because guess what? The Most High God wasn't with that. He wasn't with you from the beginning. You want to fall into sin, guess what? He ain't rocking with you. Guess what? You want to fight you'll fight your flesh, but you're not keeping the commandment. Guess what? He ain't going to let you win that fight. Guess what? He'll let you win that fight if you're keeping the commandments, right? If you dying daily. If you girding up your loins, putting on a breastplate, right? Putting on that armor, putting on the true armor. Knowing that your weapon is not carnal, knowing you ain't going to beat them like that. Know that we got to be ready for war in the right ways and how we got to do to keep this war going, right? But with that, I want to say shalom. Thank you, brothers and sisters that tuned in. Hey, thank y'all. I know I'm pretty sure y'all getting up, so good morning. But the people who probably just not getting off, like myself, shoot, good night. Y'all get y'all some good night rest. Probably gonna give me about 3 hours of sleep, get back up to it. Shoot, captivity. Guess what? We're gonna keep that war going for the Most High God always, man. That is never gonna stop. And we gotta remember that too, even in our captivity, even when it's hard. Like, we gotta endure hardness as a good soldier, right? That's what we gotta do. Because, hey, guess what? My flesh did not want to. I was like, I'll do this class tomorrow in the morning. Guess what? That's not my time, right? Guess what? My time was to come out now, teach this word, and guess what? Now you can go to sleep, right? I promise you, these next little 3 hours, I promise the Most I gotta probably make it feel like 10, but hey, whatever in his will, let it be done, right? But like you say, thank y'all, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Thank you, brothers and sisters that's donating to the cause, to the GoFundMe, to the Cash App, any ways of, compensation, whether it be arms, not even money, just helping out with anything, right? Anything that kind of help us to push towards this mark, right? To help us each and every day, right? Thank y'all. And we always finish with the battle axe. We always finish with the law. So I'm going to get the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 20. It says, behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Knowing this is going into, Christ. Guess what? He sent the angel. That's that angel, right? Verse 21, it said, beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Guess what? That's the leader of our war. That's that angel. Guess what? He leading this war. So whatever he say, you better do. If you don't, he ain't gonna party. He gonna be like, all right, go ahead. You dismissed. But what I get? You don't get nothing. Do I get the kingdom? No, because guess what? I told you didn't listen. Guess what? I'm not with you. I'm going this way. You going that way. So keep on. But verse 22, but if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I spake and all I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies and an adversary unto thine adversary. Because guess what? If you rocking with the Most High God and with his son Yahushua, he always going to fight them wars for you. He always going to be there to put somebody to fight those wars for you, right? Whether it be physically or spiritually, you just got to hold your ground and let the Lord fight your battles, right? But with that, we want to say shalom. Like I said, brothers and sisters, y'all have a good day. Y'all get prepared for the Sabbath. And hey, y'all have a good rest of y'all morning. And brothers and sisters might be going to sleep. Have a good rest of y'all